The other really interesting thing about that is if we are merged with Canada and Mexico in a North American community, we can draw on all of Mexico to start fulfilling our Army's recruiting needs. So all of a sudden we could legally have a military force made up entirely of foreigners policing us here at home. Historically, when foreigners are brought in to police a population, things can go very, very bad. So I think this is a big step in the wrong direction, and obviously some of you agree with that. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And your name, I'm sorry?
David Morrow.
David Morrow. We don't have a...
Away. He has never voted to raise taxes. He has never voted for an unbalanced budget. He has never voted for a federal restriction on gun ownership. He has never voted to raise congressional pay. He has never taken a government-paid junket. He has never voted to increase the power of the executive branch. He has voted against the Patriot Act. He voted against regulating the internet. He voted against the Iraq War. He does not participate in lucrative congressional pension program. He returns a portion of his annual congressional office budget to the U.S. Treasury every year. He introduces numerous pieces of substantive legislation each year, probably more than any single member of Congress. He will work hard to abolish the IRS the only way possible, and that is by striving to shut down all of the unconstitutional departments that our government has imposed on us over the last 100 years or so, and replace it with nothing. Okay, he will eventually get rid of the Fed that the federal government allows to devalue our money by printing it out of thin air to bail out big corporations and to support big government, by the way. He plans on doing this by allowing for competition and returning to a gold standard as the Constitution requires. He will end plans to build a NAFTA superhighway and the plans to form a North American Union, in case other people think it's a conspiracy. He'll oppose it anyway. He will protect our borders and refuse to grant amnesty to illegal aliens. He will stop covert operations and end the occupation of foreign nations that overextend our military and cause other nations to resent our presence. If you don't agree with this policy, just ask yourself if you would shoot at foreign troops if they occupied our nation. And in this regard, he has promised not to use executive privileges as previous administrations have to conceal information on covert operations from our representatives in the Congress when they vote to fund these kinds of operations that are carried out by quote-unquote intelligence organizations such as the CIA.
Michael Kerner of Lenexa, Kansas, and gee, I support Ron Paul. Dr. Paul is the only Republican candidate who is unequivocally against the Iraq War and who pledges to bring the troops home with all deliberate and safe speed. He understands that the war in Iraq was pointless, illegal, unconstitutional, and a moral horror. The vast majority of the U.S. public agrees with this. What chance does any other Republican candidate have to beat the Democrats while arguing for continued war? The war has brought us only bad. We have lost roughly 4,000 U.S. soldiers, killed Iraqis totally close to 1 million, and displaced more than 2 million. This has won us no hearts and minds. Rather, it has made us new enemies. Every dead Iraqi has an extended family who wants revenge. How do the other Republican candidates who wear their pro-life credentials proudly when it comes to abortion have no problem with killing innocent Iraqis? We have increased our national debt by almost $1 trillion to achieve these dubious results. This huge increase in the debt, coupled with runaway spending at home, has placed our economic future in grave peril. The dollar is collapsing before our very eyes. The Federal Reserve is out of options. Their trick of creating new money out of thin air doesn't fool the suckers any longer. Dr. Paul understands that money only works as a store of value as it is commodity-based. Fiat money like we have now has a 100% historic failure rate. It always eventually inflates away to nothingness. Conservative Republican candidates always tell us they want a small government and strict constructionist judges. That's their talk. That is not their walk. Violations of the Constitution are an everyday event. Where in the Constitution does it say that the President can lock people up without charge or trial, can wiretap without search warrants, can kidnap people from one country without extradition and sentence to another one for torture, or do anything else that isn't strictly listed in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution? Our freedom is melting away as we look. We are significantly less free than even 6 years ago. We cannot stand idly by. We owe it to our children to give them as much freedom as we inherited from our parents. The only candidate who will help us get our freedom back is Dr. Paul.
Donate December 16th. I was going to get to that one.
I assume that you're yielding back the last 2 minutes to the floor.
Yes.
You have 3 minutes to make your statement. And your name?
My name is Valak LeVay. I'm from Overland Park.
Okay, Val, thank you.
And what I've written is, I entitled it Ron Paul, the Champion of the Constitution. How many of you are tired of the lesser of the two evils vote? Most of you ought to imagine. Imagine this, the 2008 presidential race, Mitt Romney versus Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Mitt Romney, a big government liberal Republican from Massachusetts, who flip-flopped on abortion and legal immigration more times than a fish out of water. And Hillary Clinton, a big government liberal Democrat, who has more skeletons in her closet than Jeffrey Dahmer. Or you could have Mike Huckabee or Barack Obama. Mike Huckabee, another big government Republican who makes taxpayers pay for the education of illegal aliens, something we learned in the last debate. A man who wants to regulate you with the national ID card. Barack Obama, a man who caters to illegal aliens. The taxpayers has about as much experience in politics as the Hollywood crowd that supported him. Chuck Norris versus Oprah Winfrey. These are the Hollywood marionettes that are supporting them. No thanks. This is what the controlled media and special interest groups want, but not patriotic, freedom-loving Americans. The Republican Party can do much better. This time things are different. This time Americans finally have a real choice, and that choice is Ron Paul. Who is Ron Paul? Well, in my opinion, and the opinion of over 80,000 meetup members who gladly volunteer their time promoting him, he's a godsend. Ron Paul's platform is impeccable, his presidential platform and his voting record. Ron Paul represents Kansas values and traditions. Ron Paul, Dr. Paul, a man who's delivered over 4,000 babies, believes that preserving life is at the heart of our liberties. Ron Paul, a pro-life Republican, introduced the Sanctuary Life Act to overturn Roe versus Wade that would have given the power back to the states to preserve life. Ron Paul has introduced legislation that would keep American tax dollars from funding abortion, and has pledged to veto any legislation that would expand or fund the practice of abortion. Ron Paul attended the Right to Life Convention in Kansas City in June. Dr. Paul also is the most vocal advocate for homeschooling, an option that gives parents more control of their child's education. You can visit Homeschoolers for Ron Paul on his official website. Ron Paul will preserve our American heritage and culture as well as human life. Ron Paul is the most vocal advocate for American sovereignty and independence. He opposes deals in groups like NAFTA, CAFTA, GATT, the United Nations, North American Union, the World Trade Organization, and the International Criminal Court. These groups threaten our culture, jobs, safety, and our rights, and they transfer power to elected and unelected officials. 3 seconds.
30.
The WTO wants to restrict our access to natural health products and alternative medicine. The International Criminal Court wants to convict our troops of war crimes. And the city officials in Kansas City have approved the NAFTA superhighway under the guise of the Smart Port and want to give Mexico sovereign territory here in the heartland. The NAFTA superhighway would not only take away jobs from Americans, it would also make illegal immigration problem much worse. I have quite a bit left, but I'll end it at that.
You said you had information that you could share out with me.